Changing the ripped tenon cork is actually quite simple. Let me show you everything you're going to need and how to do it. The first supply you need is sheet cork. Now, the correct size that you need is going to depend on the make and model of the instrument that you are changing the tenon cork on. You're also going to need contact cement and some type of applicator. In order to cut the cork to the correct size, you're going to need a straight edge or ruler, and you're going to need a very sharp razor because cork is hard to cut clean. I highly recommend you have a nice flat cutting surface. You're going to need a rawhide mallet. This is the only job that I'll tell you you can use a pair of slip joint pliers. We're going to use these teeth to tear off the old cork cleanly and quickly. And to finish the job, you're going to need some paraffin wax from the canning aisle at your local store. Optional item is a sharp pointy object like this pin vise, so that way we can scrape off some of the little bits of cork that are stuck in the corner edges of the tenon. Let's get to work. Open your slip joint pliers to the large setting, and then with gentle pressure, you're going to go around the tenon and then just begin to rotate, and it should just cleanly rip your cork off like this. You don't want to squeeze so hard that it's actually scratching or removing any of the wood underneath, but if you do it ever so lightly, just so it touches the surface, you can quickly and easily strip all of that cork off, leaving your tenon nice and clean. Now, this other little stuff that's really deep inside of those grooves, if your tenon has it, that's where you're going to use the sharp pointy object to gently scrape that clean. Now that you have your tenon prepped and clean, you're going to take the measurement of the width. This one is 5/8 inch. Now we're going to make a mark on our cork at 5/8 inch on two spots, one up here and one a little lower. We're going to draw a straight line between those and then use our razor to cut it out. With your razor, you'll make one clean cut. Make sure you make it as straight as possible. Now, cork is very stiff and we need to wrap it around a circle. In order to do that, we need to soften the cork up so that way it doesn't crack when we're trying to wrap it around. This is where your rawhide mallet comes in. All of those little black filler marks, that's called pith. And we have to hit the hammer to hit it with the mallet to make sure we soften all that up, like this. Repeat that for both sides, and now your cork should be very soft and bend into a circle, nice and easy. Next, we need to cut a 45-degree bevel just on the top side of this cork. It should look like this when you're done. One item that I forgot to mention at the beginning that you're going to need is sandpaper. Now we're ready to apply a thin layer of contact cement to the back side of the cork and to the tenon. You want to make sure the layer is as thin as possible. No clumps, no lumps. If the glue is too thick, the cork simply won't stick. You're also going to apply a little bit of contact cement to this top bevel. That way, when you wrap this over, it's going to create a smooth ramp and go nice and flush. Make sure you always close your contact cement up right away so it doesn't dry out. We're going to set these aside until we can't see any wet. Now that our glue is cured up, we're going to carefully and slowly apply it to the tenon. You only get one shot at this. As soon as the contact cement makes contact, it's going to stick, and you can't pull it off and re-stick it. The glue will be shot, and you'll have to start all over again. To start, you'll very carefully set the leading edge with the bevel down first into the tenon. Make sure that the edges are lined up and cut perfectly. Next, you're going to very gently pull as you wrap it around. Don't pull from the end because you may tear the cork. It should look something like this. And you want to be very careful to make sure that the edges stay perfectly lined up. You don't want to zigzag wiggly cork. When you get to the bevel, you're going to press down nice and hard. Now we're going to cut off the excess, and we're going to work this with our fingers, just rotating around to make sure that we have the cork seated very nicely. You're going to grab a strip of sandpaper and we're going to sand off that remaining portion of that little lump where the bevel was. What I do is I place my thumb on top of the lumpy part, I put the sandpaper underneath, and then I gently pull. You can only do this in one direction, the same direction that you wrapped the cork. If you pull against the cork, you'll rip it right off. Once you've got it sanded all the way down, the glue should be gone and it should look almost invisible. Now the last step is to fit the tenon on top. If it goes on smoothly, then the next step is to apply wax to seal it. If it doesn't, you may need to take the sandpaper and repeat the same process, but going all the way around, taking it down just a little bit at a time until you get the fit that you like. I like to apply the paraffin wax just like this. You just rub it on the outside to get a nice coat, and then use your finger to rub across, and that heat will melt it into the cork. That's going to make this waterproof, which will prevent any cork grease going down and penetrating and loosening up your contact cement, which is what causes it to fall off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give a follow, smash that like, and drop a comment if you need any more help.